Alright guys, so I wanted to give you an update of what's going on with the ARC racers that I'm building. This little guy here, this is the first one I built. I've made a few changes. I put the 180 stroker motor on it. It's a 90 turn motor made by Denali with the little adapter plate there so that you could put the motor in there with the aluminum gear and all that good stuff. Works out really good. It's really strong. It's with this gearing, it's just slightly slower than what it was with the smaller motor, the lossy size can motor that I have from him as well. But it doesn't really affect it because it's fast enough for what I need. So it's been pretty beat up, as you could tell. You know, all the paint's coming off and everything. I've had my son running around, outside and beat the bejesus out of it, and it's held up pretty good. With that bigger motor, I had to move the links a little further back, those upper links. I had to move that mount to the back so that that motor will actually clear, because that motor is huge. So, but apart from that, it's really not that big of a change on it. Looks a lot cleaner now because I have the battery pack in the front and the ESC in there, so that fits in there nicely, and then the motor and transmission are all by themselves right here, so that looks kind of clean. I like that. Now this guy, Showtime, this was a pain to build. Not the chassis itself. The chassis was hard, but actually getting everything in there was so much harder. Originally had other ideas for this guy as far as a powertrain. I'm still working on those ideas. It's just because of the size, it was hard to do what I wanted to do with it. So I went ahead and put the smaller size motor in there, the Predator 90 turn motor. It's right in there. It's tiny, but it's there. And I went with the 250 milliamp 7.4 volt battery. It's a 2S battery LiPo. It's what I was using with my Sumo crawler, the Spider. So it's worked out all this time, so I was going ahead and use that. I had to do some changes as far as steering goes with this guy. I went ahead and made a 4-wheel steering instead of the front wheel steering that I did on the other one. This one I'm going to keep just front wheel steering because the ESC is only for one steering, so that works out. Yeah, what the heck. And I like it that way anyway. This guy though, I made him 4-wheel steering. Went ahead and used all those high voltage Corona servos in the back. It's got a lot of torque for its size, and then for the front I had to compromise because of this chassis design. That bar in the front does not allow the servo to go into it like this one does. See how that servo sits in there? There's no bar in the front, so that servo can go in and the chassis can sit lower. The Showtime buggy does not have that same design, so if I would have done away with this front bar, it wouldn't look good. So I went ahead and left it, but I had to bring the servo down, and I had to use a thinner servo. Now this servo, let me see if I can see what it is. It's a D56MG from Turnigi. It's smaller than the regular servos that we use with these crawlers. But it's got about half the torque of this one. So no, it's not gonna be as strong, but it's gonna be alright because this buggies are built for speed. So with speed, you don't really need that strong of a servo. Articulation, pretty respectable for what it is. It's meant to be a rock racer, not a rock crawler, so I didn't really go crazy with the articulation. The front shocks, these springs, they're really not functional. They're there just for looks. I didn't use springs in the front because it was just not working out for me. I needed the chassis to sit low enough so that it would look right. And if I was to put springs in the front, you know, functional ones, it would bring the chassis a little bit higher, and it just didn't look right. So I went ahead and used them there just for show, but they really don't have any spring in them. They move, but there's no spring. The back though, I did put some springs in there. So the back does have some give with the springs. And it kind of worked out good because when you're jumping, you know, going up the hills and everything with this, it doesn't have the bounciness in the front that this one has, because it does have some functional springs. It's kind of like it's pretty flat in the front, and the back is the one that, you know, does all the jumping, but since it's going up, it kind of helps. Let's see, underside, I went ahead and used the lossy bottom plate for the transmission and the motor. Reason I used that was because this chassis being so narrow, I didn't really have a lot of room to really put these points right here for the links inside like I did with the other one. It just wasn't gonna work well, especially with this drive shaft being there, and that one, it wasn't really making any sense, you know, with the bottom plate that I made for the other one. So I went ahead and used this. It works for the lossy crawler, so it works for this. Extended the shafts, of course, the drive shafts. Links, you know, they got their own little bar there to hold them. In the front, they're sitting on that bar right there. Transmission's there. Using the receiver for my had the transmitter that I was messing with, and I'm using a 10 amp ESC, which is really small. It's right there, that black piece right there, that's the ESC. It's a 10 amp ESC. It has shrink wrap around it, but yeah, no, it's there. Let me see if I can turn it on real quick. Okay, that's on. See? ESC. There it is. Let me see. Put that guy like that. Doesn't have a whole lot of low end control because you know, it's geared so high for speed. Huh. I think I broke this earlier. Alright, so I'm gonna have to change this axle. It's obviously stripped. That sucks. Anyways, everything else seems to be working still. That's funny, I got spinners. Whoa. Alright, steering, boom, boom, boom. Forward steering, boom, boom, boom. So you can tell the front steering is a little bit slower than the back. It's still strong enough for the size of the crawler. It still works. Anyways, I'll put some running videos soon. Hope you guys enjoyed.